Hi, this is Ron Harper Jr. Behind me is my 90-year-old mother, Bert Harper, who might wake up and say something. Yes, I'm sitting around in my bathrobe in Mary and I's 1,000 square foot A-frame home. There's not a whole lot of room. And Mom is in the central, the only significant room in the place, and that's where her bed is. She has a 55-inch TV to watch her shows, and she is waited on. I don't know if you can see her hospital table there with drinks and food that she has anytime she wants. Many of you don't know that last February she came to move in with Mary and I after being in the hospital for 5 days. She had a dislocated shoulder. She had two infections on her forearms that were so badly not treated, that she had to be hospitalized for these antibiotics. She had 4 different kinds of infections on her untreated forearms. She had a ulcer, sore on her elbow that was unstageable, meaning it was that bad they weren't sure how bad it was. That took about 10 weeks for those infections and sores to start looking better. Mom's perpetrators, the 2 of the 3 people responsible, were to be sentenced yesterday at the Lancaster County Courthouse. I'd made it clear to the assistant district attorney who I was talking to about this, that said she was handling this case, that I was not happy with the district attorney. When we got there yesterday, we went up to the 4th floor to the courtroom 8, and there was no one there to greet us. We found the bailiff, who said, "Why isn't the victim's advocate here?" I told him, "I don't know." He said, "Well, if they were, they would meet you and they would take you over and sit with you." I said, "I'm aware of that, but can you get us into the room?" He opened the room and we sat there for about 40 minutes until a young woman walked in the door who said her name was Jennifer Ponessa, the assistant district attorney, who now would be handling this case. What happened to the other ADA? Well, she was going on her honeymoon. Did she not know that she had a honeymoon at this time? In either case, Jennifer looked down at her file and began talking. She never got my name. She didn't get Mary's name. She didn't get Mom's caregiver's name. But worst of all, Jennifer Ponessa came in for the victim, and she never even looked at the woman. Never looked at her. In fact, she positioned herself and moved her shoulder in exact opposite of my mother, who, sensing the negative energy that Jennifer was giving off, stood up and walked toward her and said, "Who are you?" And Jennifer did this and recoiled as though she was about to be attacked. My mother said, What's wrong with you? You think I'm going to hurt you?" Jennifer Ponessa was supposed to be there for my mother, and she didn't even talk to her. She didn't look at her. When I stood up and said, "I want you to know that I've taken my mother from here to Florida and back and all over. She's met hundreds of people. And in all of those hundreds of people, from small to old and everything in between, not a soul, not one person ever treated my mother with disrespect. Not one. Not one was rude to my mother. Everyone treated her, dare I say, normal. I told Jennifer to leave. Hit the bricks is what I told her. 15 minutes later, we get somebody coming through the door. It's an armed sergeant, deputy sheriff, who announces to us, the sentencing is over. You can go now. They held the sentencing, and they didn't let me, the victim's son, Mary, the victim's daughter-in-law, speak before the sentencing. The judge did not get to see this 90-year-old woman who's now can run, whereas last February she had to be brought in on a wheelchair and carried, lifted into her bed. We left, but we were marched out, guarded by 3 armed deputies as though we were criminals. This is the victim, the 90-year-old victim, and her family. I wanted to go talk to the judge, but my mother was so scared that there was no way I could leave her. And so we left. But I'm here to tell you that it's more than 24 hours later, and I still don't know how to process this. But I want you to know that Heather Adams is responsible for abusing my mother again. Heather Adams, you owe my mom an apology. Heather Adams, you owe my mom a resentencing in which the judge, who by law is to hear victim statements if they want to give them, victims' families if they want to give those statements. My mother has dementia. I am her voice. You denied my right to speak at that sentencing hearing, Heather Adams. And you broke the law. What are you going to do about it?